My name is Alyssa Monroe, and I still remember the day my family erased me from their lives. It wasn't dramatic, just one cold dinner table where love turned into silence after I told them I was marrying Marcus, the man they refused to see as anything but a mistake. That night, I left home with nothing but a suitcase and a promise that I would survive without them. 9 years passed with no calls, no birthdays, no apology, just silence, so heavy it became its own kind of grief. I built a quiet life beside Marcus, who never once made me feel like I was less for choosing him. We were poor, overlooked, and invisible to the world that had already decided we wouldn't last. Then everything changed the day Marcus's startup went public, and our bank account stopped looking like a struggle and started looking like power. I didn't tell anyone from my past, not even when I heard the knock at my door that would reopen everything I buried. Standing there was my mother holding a list of demands, smiling like she had every right to the life she abandoned me in years ago, without remorse shown. My mother stood in my doorway, like she had never left my life. She held a folded paper, tapping it like it was a legal contract instead of guilt. Her eyes didn't even search for mine first. They scanned the apartment like she was evaluating profit. "We saw the news," she said softly, finally looking at me. I already knew what we meant. People who erased me now wanted a piece of my life. Marcus had warned me this would happen the moment his company hit $44 million valuation. She slid the paper closer, revealing demands for money, property, and family reconciliation compensation. I felt something inside me tighten. Not anger yet, something colder forming instead. I looked at her for a long moment, realizing she didn't come to reconnect. She came to collect. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Marcus was home early, and I saw my mother notice him before I even turned. Her expression changed instantly. The same man she once called unworthy, now standing in silence behind me in a tailored suit worth more than her entire life. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "We need you to save us. You owe us everything now, please." The word, "oh," hit the room like a slap I didn't see coming. Marcus didn't move, but I felt his presence shift behind me like a warning. My mother stepped forward, suddenly smaller, as if success had shrunk her pride instead of expanding it. She held out the paper again, this time shaking, as though desperation had rewritten her confidence. "I raised you," she said, voice cracking. "You don't just walk away from family like that." Something inside me finally broke, not loudly but cleanly, like glass deciding it no longer wanted to hold weight. I turned slightly, enough for Marcus to be beside me, not behind me. He looked at her once, calm, the kind of calm that made people regret speaking first. Then he said nothing for a moment, and that silence felt louder than anything she had ever demanded from us. I realized she wasn't here for me anymore. She was here for what I had become. And that's when Marcus finally reached for my hand, squeezing it once, as if asking silently whether I still belonged to the past or to the life I chose. I answered her before he could, and that changed everything forever. My mother stared at me like I had just rewritten her reality. Marcus still stood beside me, but I felt my voice settle before he ever spoke. I told her she didn't raise me to be owned, and silence swallowed the hallway. Her hands trembled around the paper as she insisted this was about family survival, not greed. I almost laughed, but it came out as air I didn't trust. Marcus finally stepped forward, calm and precise, saying the company wasn't a lottery ticket she could cash in. Her face changed at that word, company, like she was hearing money spoken in a language she suddenly understood. She tried again, softer this time, telling me my father was sick, bills were rising, everything falling apart without me. That was the first crack I felt in my resolve. Not guilt exactly, but memory forcing itself back in. Then she opened her purse and slid something onto the table between us, something I hadn't seen in years, something that made my chest go cold instantly, because it carried my father's signature demanding I come home immediately. Before I realized this wasn't a request, it was a legal summons disguised as love it. My mother's hand was still shaking when she pushed the paper closer to me, as if proximity could turn desperation into authority. I read the header first. Legal notice, Monroe Family Estate Review, beneficiary reallocation request. My throat tightened because I had not seen my father's name in anything official since I left. Marcus placed a hand lightly on my back, but I could feel the tension in his silence, more than his touch. My mother quickly added that my father was fading and that this document required my immediate signature or I would be removed entirely. I felt the room tilt because the word removed didn't sound financial anymore. It sounded like erasure. Then Marcus finally spoke, asking one question that made my mother go completely still in place. "Who told you he was already dead?" The color drained from her face, so fast it looked rehearsed. She tried to speak, but nothing came out, only a dry movement of lips. I stepped forward for the first time, reading the bottom of the document where a handwritten clause had been added after notarization. It was signed not by my father, but by someone claiming control of everything I knew. My mother's eyes flickered when Marcus said that. The silence that followed felt engineered, like someone had rehearsed the moment for us. I looked at the signature again, my fingers tightening around the paper as Marcus leaned closer. It wasn't my father's handwriting, not fully, not the way I remembered from childhood cards and hospital forms. There was a stiffness to it, like someone copying grief without ever living it. My mother finally spoke, too quickly, saying the lawyers handled everything because my father was too weak to manage details. Marcus didn't look at her. His eyes stayed on the clause at the bottom of the page. I read it again, slower this time, and felt my stomach drop when I saw the name printed as executor. It wasn't my father. It was someone I hadn't seen in 9 years, my Uncle Raymond, the man who disappeared after the argument that split our family. My breath caught when Marcus quietly said his company had just been approached by the same name. My mother's composure finally cracked, just slightly, enough for me to notice she wasn't surprised. She was waiting. And that's when I realized she didn't come alone today either. My mother didn't come alone. I realized it when Marcus placed his phone on the table and the screen lit up with a message from a restricted legal channel bearing Raymond's name again. My mother stepped back too quickly, like she had been caught rehearsing lines she no longer controlled. Marcus finally spoke, saying the company wasn't being approached for investment, it was being targeted for acquisition through me. I felt my chest tighten, because that meant my name was already inside their legal structure, without my consent. My mother's voice broke again, insisting she was protecting me, but Marcus interrupted quietly, saying the last transfer request had already been approved, and it was signed using my father's digital identity. I turned slowly toward her, realizing she wasn't asking for help, she was confirming execution of something already set in motion. Then Marcus added one final line that froze me completely. "Your father is still alive, and he just authorized everything, including you, as collateral, and that changed everything." And in that moment, I saw my mother smile faintly, because the truth wasn't news to her. It was the signal she had been waiting for all along to begin now. My mother's smile faded the moment Marcus opened the secure file on his laptop. Every signature, every transfer, every illegal authorization was already flagged and reversed before she ever stepped into my home. I felt my hands stop shaking for the first time since she arrived. Marcus looked at me, not at her, and asked if I wanted to end it here, or expose everything. I finally understood I wasn't trapped in their plan. I was the missing piece they needed to complete it. I told him to proceed. The room filled with the quiet sound of legal notifications locking down accounts tied to my uncle, my mother, and every forged document they built around my father's name. She whispered my name like it could undo consequences, but I didn't move. For 9 years, I was erased. Now I was the reason they were being removed. Security arrived as Marcus ended the call, and I watched my mother realize she had built her entire return on a lie that was already collapsing. I didn't follow her out. I didn't cry. I closed the door on everything they tried to take from me, finally standing where I was always meant to be completed.